Last week, I asked you if you had any questions at all about our whole greenhouse upgrade journey, and you haven't disappointed. I've got a fair few questions to answer. So come in and I'll show you what we've done and we'll get started. These, though, are always the little things that I get really excited about. I've always wanted to have a shelf to put, look at that gorgeous little pot there. I've always wanted a shelf to put my little pots on. I know this is going to be a very functional workstation, but what harm can a corner of little terracotta pots do with a wicker basket next to them? Okay, Jane, stop faffing on. Let's get on with the questions. First question comes from Jen over at the Moorside Gardener, and she wants to know why we decided to go with this floor, I suppose, as opposed to a floor with soil or raised beds that we could plant directly into. And if you remember, when we were trying to decide where to site this new to us greenhouse, we asked for your advice as to where you thought it should go on the plot, and the overwhelming comments came up with put it on the site of the one you're taking down, because then you have the footprint. We already had the slabs down for the previous greenhouse with the extension on the end for a little patio area, if you like, so it seemed to make sense. It would save us having to redo the floor altogether. Well, things are never as easy as that in life, are they? Because what happened was, of course, once we got this greenhouse here, we decided that we were going to position it 90 degrees from the previous one, and that meant that basically we were going to have to take the slabs up and relay them in a different configuration, if you like. So we have ended up reusing the previous floor, but that has left us with a strip down the middle. If we had had, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more flagstones, they would have gone in the centre, but we didn't. So we have just got some gravel, and I told you last time, I really love the sound of it, but I probably will get sick soon enough of kicking it back onto the middle. So I'm hoping it bends down pretty quick. But it ties in really well with a question from Penny, and she asked why we weren't leaving soil paths, if you like, soil borders in the greenhouse to grow straight into. And that is basically because we've got the polytunnel. If we did not have the polytunnel where we plant straight into the soil, and the greenhouse next to me here that's got the grapevine in and all the peppers, then yes, we would have left soil borders. But as it is, we have already got plenty of undercover spaces to plant into. And with this being mainly a workstation, I don't think we need the extra space. I have left a space at the end of this set of staging that could become either a large raised bed or a big pot. Watch this space. It might be the return of the peach tree. But that will evolve. Those ideas will evolve as we start to use the greenhouse a bit more. So yeah, if the greenhouse is your only undercover growing space, I would suggest that you have some soil so you can grow things indoors. But as it is, we have got the choice of other spaces. So for us, it wasn't necessary. That was meant to be a quick answer. Right, okay, let me show you what we've done. What are you doing here? Hello. I'm sure you've probably noticed already, but one of the big changes to the inside of the greenhouse is the staging. Oh my goodness. I mean, this side already, I have decided, much as I'm a big advocate of not having to wash your pots, I've been washing my pots because I don't want any unnecessary visitors coming into the greenhouse. And yeah, I'm used to the odd slug and snail, but I am part way through. The rest is behind you over there. I'm sorting my pots out so they'll be ready for spring. But if I show you just the storage underneath here, I have got these gorgeous apple crates that my friend Jane donated when we first took the plot on, and they've never really had their place. We've had them stacked up and we've used them, but now we've just got the perfect space to put things. They are just the right depth, they are just the right fit, they look right. I am so thrilled. And don't you find that with things? You might have something for years and just be on the verge of thinking, oh, what am I keeping hold of that for? And suddenly you do something and it finds its place. This is exactly what's happened with those. So I am so thrilled. And of course, we've also got this eye level staging here, which is slightly narrower. And I'm hoping, let me go and get a seed tray. These need a good wash as well, but I am hoping, I've not even tried this yet, these will fit. Oh, they do, they fit absolutely perfectly on there. Okay, so obviously I'm going to have to get some gravel trays or something to go underneath them, or I think you can get long gravel trays to put on there, but yeah, brilliant. That is just going to be so good in the spring when the seedlings are starting off. But just thrilled again. Right, next question. I am still in love with this view. So even though at the moment your view, which is where I'll be sitting, is probably taking in old bits of wood and plastic plant pots that still need to be put away, this bit here, right in front of you, is what I want it to be, my wildlife haven. I want every plant in here to be attracting as many pollinators, as many butterflies, as many moths that we can possibly do. And I'm going to be doing that through a mix of flowers and herbs, much like I have done in the rest of the plot. But I want to be able to sit there and watch the bees at work and smell the herbs coming to me and just be able to pick things on the way out to use in my next cookery adventure. So yeah, if you have got any tips as to what you think I could plant in here that's really good for pollinators. I've got marigolds, I've got calendula, I've got the cosmos, I've got dahlias, I've got snapdragons, I've got so many other things. I've got so many herbs. Can you think of anything that's evergreen or semi-evergreen just to put in as a bit of a structure in here? Let me know and yeah, I'll get it in the plans. Okay, this one comes from Pammy. And Pammy has said, with the main structure of the greenhouse being wood, are we going to use any sort of preservative or oil or anything like that to just make sure that it keeps its integrity? I'm putting it that way. And the answer to that, Pammy, is no. The only reason being, it is a cedar wood greenhouse. I don't know much about wood, to be honest, but I do know that cedar wood has got a very high level of natural preservation oils, preservative oils. So really, once this is in, you know, it shouldn't need any tampering at all. Obviously, if it was made of something else that wasn't as long lasting, I would give it a coat of something on the inside as well as on the outside. As you know, I'm still in the midst of painting the outside, but I am very pleased with it. So yeah, I think it's going to be okay, Pammy. So fingers crossed, it's not going to get damp during its first winter. I don't know if you can tell, but it is actually really warm in here. I've got a thicker jacket on today because I thought it was a bit chilly, but not in the greenhouse. In fact, it is 76.1 degrees Fahrenheit, or let's just see if I can press that. What does that say? 24.5, which isn't too bad for a mid-September day. But I've treated myself to a new thermometer. So after all the things finding their place, I couldn't resist getting a new one of these. I did have one in the old greenhouse, but it was a bit grubby and it was falling apart. So these, cheap and cheerful, but they do tell you the maximum and the minimum temperature and what the current temperature is. So yeah, in centigrade and Fahrenheit. I will leave a link below and pop along and get one. But for now, I'm saying for now, I mean, of course, once it's in, it's never going to get moved, isn't it? I'm hoping that if I put it here, because there's already a hole there. That will fit onto that screw. Yes. Perfect. Oh, look at me sorting out my pots. I'm like a new woman. Yes, that again leads me on to the next question. Oh, that's very pleasing. The next question, which is from Mama's Oasis Allotment. And she asks how to stop crops in your greenhouse over winter going mouldy. Now, my first answer would be, I don't know, because I tend not to keep them over winter in the allotment. But I would say, and what I will be doing this year is making sure I've got really good airflow. I think that is the key for anything. To keep your crops healthy, they need to have good airflow. Now, here I've got these doors that open, but obviously that is only going to be if I come up and manually open them myself. But I have also got these auto vents, which I have never, ever had before. And yeah, they just seem like absolute magic. And I wish I had some footage, but the other day I was actually sitting in that corner and there was a thunderstorm going on outside. And I wonder if that's going to affect the temperature enough for the vents to close. And they did. They did. It was like magic. So if you have got a greenhouse, I think most greenhouses now come with auto vents, or if not, you can get them. I mean, to be honest, these do. This window is wide open, this one less so. So I don't know if they need looking at. I know you can replace them. Again, I'll pop a little link down below. But they are something that you do not need to keep popping up and down to your greenhouse to keep doing, but will hopefully keep some sort of airflow. I know even in the shed when I have stored herbs before and I've bunched them and I've hung them and it's a dark shed and I thought they'll be fine. Within a few weeks, you can see them starting to go mouldy because obviously they just haven't got that flow around them. Look, I've stopped doing this because I'm talking. They haven't got that flow around them. So airflow, that's what I would say. Anybody else got any tips for that? Pop them and let's help each other out by just putting some answers in the comments below. I can't do this and talk at the same time. Another question that really made me think quite hard came from Matt, and he asked what was the worst part of the greenhouse build, and it really made me think long and hard about actually putting it together, fitting the glass, doing the painting, all these different things. And then all of a sudden the answer came to me and it was absolutely obvious, and that was the transporting of the greenhouse from that end of the lane all the way down to our allotment gate, because there was no way that we could get the van that we drove it along in down this lane itself. So it was manually taking all those parts up and down the lane with fantastic friends who really helped us out. But yeah, it's quite a struggle. It's lovely being at this end of the lane because it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's quite private, but have a little go, have a little guess. How long do you think it is from our allotment right to the end over there? And if you get it right, I don't know, I'll give you some brownie points or something, but I think you'll be quite surprised. Okay, I'm determined to get on with this. Slow and steady. Another great question came from Karen, and Karen has asked what we are going to do, or what has become of the old greenhouse, because even though it wasn't really a normal functioning greenhouse because of the variety of different things that were wrong with it, it was a decent frame. So the frame has been carried down to Mike's plot and he hasn't done it yet. We were hoping to be able to show you today, but he is going to be covering it in net and using it as either a brassica cage or a fruit cage, probably a brassica cage. But obviously, because we've taken the glass panes out, it's actually quite wobbly, so it's not as straightforward as just wrapping a net around it. We're going to have to structure it with with some bits of wood or something to strengthen it. But yeah, so it will be being reused. We asked around to see if anybody wanted it for free. Nobody did. I wonder why, but you know, you've got to ask, haven't you? I'm not doing it again. Okay, next question comes from Trish. And Trish has noticed that outside the greenhouse here, we have got a tree, and she wants to know whether we should take it down or not. So let me show you. I love my tree. This is my lovely juniper tree that I did a video on a couple of years ago, I think, actually cloud pruning it. And you can see it possibly needs doing again. But we've already had to cut a sizable chunk off this because of the greenhouse, just actually fitting it into the space. However, my argument for keeping it, and this will come in for anybody who is putting up a polytunnel or a greenhouse structure, think about where your sun is going to rise and set. So our sun is in my eyes at the moment because that's where it sets over there, and it rises over there. So actually, this tree is not going to be causing too much of a shadow in my greenhouse. Obviously, if the sun was coming up there or, you know, setting over there, yes, you know, it wouldn't be right. It would cause a big shadow, but I don't know what to do. Do I just cut it back a bit? I was thinking I could maybe just make it into a standard, cutting off the lower branches, but that's just going to send the problem higher up, and it's just going to form a canopy over the greenhouse, which is probably not what I want. So yeah, any thoughts? What would you do? I know something will come to me and I'll think, yes, that's the right way to do it. But I don't know if you can see here, we've got the, I'm not quite sure what that was. I thought it was like an evergreen jasmine. Might be an evergreen honeysuckle on that side. That collapsed. That was part of the collateral damage of bringing the greenhouse in. But yes, what do we do? It's so lovely and feathery. What would you do? Honestly, there must be at least another 100 pots to take in, and I'll still run out of the right size and shape. I don't know if you can see on camera there, but there's my polytunnel at the other end of the plot there. And Graham has asked, what is the difference between growing in the greenhouse and growing in the polytunnel? And the answer there, Graham, is I really don't know, because the previous greenhouse wasn't really fit for growing things in. It was fit for starting things off, as I've said before, using it like a workstation, so setting my seeds and everything in there. But then I would take them up to the polytunnel because that polytunnel was warmer than my previous greenhouse. Now, I'm assuming that because the greenhouse that you are in at the minute is pretty secure, that is going to be quite warm. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on the temperatures and seeing, you know, which one is insulated better. But yeah, it's all new to me as well. So let me know if you have grown in a greenhouse and a polytunnel before. I realise I am asking you to comment on so many different topics. Just believe me, it's because I've got so many questions for you going around in my head. But if you have grown in a polytunnel and in a greenhouse, let me know what the difference is. And, you know, again, it might just help the rest of us understand a little bit better what we've got in store. What am I going to be growing in my new growing space over the winter? And again, my immediate thoughts at the moment are I want to plant up some flowers for next year. So I know for sure I want to have some foxgloves, maybe to put in that bed that I was talking about just behind you now, earlier on. But I want to plant some things that are going to be giving me some colour early on in the spring. So yes, your foxgloves, your sweet williams, that sort of thing. But also what I want to be doing is taking some semi-hardwood cuttings So again, I've got a huge rosemary plant at home. I want to take some cuttings from that. Again, maybe to go in the bed behind you. I've got sage. It's not the same as taking the softwood cuttings early in spring, but there is certainly plenty of things that you can take cuttings from now. So for example, even the pelargoniums, I want to be potting some of them on. Again, in the previous greenhouse, it wasn't frost free, it wasn't watertight. I couldn't do any of those things. I could in the polytunnel had I wanted to, but the fact that this is all up and ready to go, I'm certainly going to be getting on with stuff in here. Awesome. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.